Why? What are you gonna do, huh?
Hey guys, what's up? Malcolm and all here from Model Productions with another tutorial on how you guys can add your own ejection rounds, muzzle flashes and smoke to your action-packed films, whether it be short films, feature films, whatever you guys are creating. And you can do this using After Effects. This is quite a detailed, in-depth tutorial, guys, so bear with it. But it's step-by-step process on how to do it. Now, the clip that you've just seen was the final product that we created as a production company, the final film, the final bit from the film. But the tutorial that we're showing you was shot before, and it was just for training purposes, guys. So the ejection rounds, the flashes that we've added and we used in this tutorial are not the same as what you've just seen. They're a bit small, they're not finalized, they're not polished, but that's for you guys. What we show you in this tutorial, guys, is the way to do it. Okay, so please subscribe, hit the like button, and we're going to carry on throwing tutorials up there for you guys to do all this stuff yourself. Okay, so before we go any further, guys, I'm going to show you a little problem that sometimes happens when you're moving files around. I'm very organized when it comes to my MacBook and my station. I have 3 hard drives. Things are kept all in different places because I just like backups of backups and things not on my station. I like hard drives just because if your station dies, you don't lose anything. So if I bring this in now, guys, so what you'll sometimes find is the footage we're working on today, guys, is here. It's blank fire, and it's a part of a short film that I directed and starred in. You guys will be able to watch it very soon when we finish it. We're in the final stages now, and we're just going through color grading and so on and so forth. But if you ever move this, so this is a file we're working with today, this one here. So if we ever move this around or change it, so for example, if I turn around and go rename to 4K, we shot this in 4K, so if I just add a K, you know, for argument's sake, there we go. So I've changed that now. If I move this out of the way, and I click back to here, After Effects warning, the file user Mac blah 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 could not be found. Sometimes people panic because they don't know what's happened, but all it's done is when you import a file into After Effects, it creates a script and it creates a link. So it doesn't actually import the whole file, it just imports a link to where that file is on your station. So you've moved it or you've changed it. It can't find that file because it's not matching. It's not either where you put it or it's not what you called it. So what you're going to simply do is you can just go to this window here, project, your main project window. You're going to right click. You're going to go down to replace footage file. All you're going to do is you're going to simply find that footage. So mine's in blank fire. I changed it to 4K. So I'm just going to click on that, click open. And what we're going to have is we found the file again. So that's that problem solved. You can do it anywhere on your Mac. You can move it from hard drive to hard drive, anything. This is the best way of, the only way of finding it properly without obviously having to start again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drag and drop our clip down here. And something that I need to do because my window, for some reason, I will change it and it's in settings somewhere. But it always starts on the time code of the actual footage that we shot. We shot this on a Blackmagic production camera, and it always starts on the time code there. So I don't like that. I'm a bit of a OCD freak. So all I'm going to do is go my composition. No, I'm not. I'm going to go, yeah, composition settings, and I'm going to simply just change this to all the zeros because I'm OCD massively. And there we go. So we know it's a 6.22 seconds duration. Okay, so now it started back at 00 seconds and finishes up here somewhere. So what we want to do is we want to save time and processing power. We want simply, this is a clip cut from the actual visual lock that we've got from the short film, but we only want the footage that's going to be where the VFX is. So it's going to be around here somewhere. So all this is waste. We don't need any of this, and we don't need this little bit back here. So what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to render out my timeline just here. Sometimes it takes ages. With my station it does. I will speed this up in the tutorial so you don't have to sit and wait. But we're just going to trim it down so we're just working on where we need the VFX files. Okay, so I'm just going to speed this up. Okay guys, so now that's done and that's rendered out. As you can see here, we've got the green bar all along our footage, which shows that the render is complete. That all should all run smooth now. So I'm just going to show you the footage that we have that we're working with, and the scene here is we're ex-CIA agents and we've got a guy hostage and we're looking for 6 million, 3 million each. We both love women and cars, but this guy's a greedy bugger. He wants all the money for himself. So 10 years we've been working together and he decides that he wants to trick me, double cross me, take the 6 million, so he's going to try and kill me. It's not going to happen because I'm a badass. But what he has done is he's replaced my gun with blank rounds. So that's what we're simulating today. So obviously in sound you simulate blank firing, but when it comes to adding ejection rounds and flash and smoke, I mean, it will be subtle differences between a real gun and between a blank gun. You'll get more flash and more smoke with a blank gun than you will a real gun, because obviously there's a round blocking the exit chamber of the pistol, 9mm. But for argument's sake, we don't need to worry too much about that. This is a very basic tutorial. So let's show you the footage now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to watch to find out where the footage comes in and where it leaves, so we know where to trim. So okay, so we know that it's this is where the footage starts, around 4 seconds, where the VFX needs to be. I know there's 4 rounds shot and it finishes there. So we want to, so if we trim it just before, so about here, all we're going to do is we're going to press Alt, open square brackets, and then we're going to scrub to where the final shot's done, which is going to be there, around there. That's the final one, so we add a little bit more. And then Alt, close brackets. So this is the only part of the footage that we're going to be working on. So all we're going to do is we're going to bring that to the start of our timeline and bring this down. And all we're going to do is we're going to press the N button. Oh, one too many. We're going to press the N button. Then we're going to right click in here and go trim comp to work area. So now we should have literally just the footage that we want to be adding our VFX to. So later on when it comes to rendering and stuff, this will just make life so much more easier to add in the VFX, because you won't have all that information before and after for it to think about. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back over to our files, and over here, guys, I have some footage. Where is it? So we have here, guys, we have this is my footage, VFX footage. We've got blood, mist, and splats. These are all like air bursts and bangs and stuff. I'll give you. This is from Detonation Films, guys, but these are very low quality. These are good for like in the distance, quick flash things. These are not good for 4K films or anything like that, but these are not going to be the ones that I'm using. So what we want here is we want the muzzle flash, which is here. So we're going to drag that across. I'll put a detailed link in the thing, whatever it's called, words left me. But I'll leave a detailed thing in the link. That's the one, something like that, as where you can get this from. So I'm going to bring that across. It's a Christmas package with all different gunfires and stuff I found on the internet. And it's royalty free, so you can use it all, guys. There's loads on there, and we're going to use a clip from in there. We're also going to bring across wherever it's gone, we're also going to bring across, there it is, ejection rounds. So there's a 9mm footage here on green screen, and we're going to bring that across. So let's bring that across. And if you noticed here, guys, we've got green screen, and we've also got, you could essentially say, black screen. There's 2 different ways we can key out the black and key out the green, and I'm going to show you both ways in a moment. But what we can do is, because we're creating this 4 times, we can pretty much create it once, then copy and paste it, and just move it in the timeline. So that's what we're going to do. So first thing we're going to bring on is we're going to bring in our blank footage. This file here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to scrub up, move it around. We're going to find the one we want, guys. So there's a couple here. That one's too big. There's another one there. So this one looks like a blank fire to me. If you see that there's quite a bit of fire that comes out, quite a prominent flash in the beginning, guys. Lots of debris and stuff, which is what you get from a blank round, guys. I'm ex-military, so I know what I'm talking about. Obviously, there's no bullet to stop all the crap firing out, so everything just fires straight out the blank barrel. So this is the one we're going to use, guys. So if I just find it just before the flash, which is let's go there, and also all we're going to do is we're going to trim that, and then all we're going to do is we're going to trim that there. Sorry guys, I was on the wrong thing. We're going to have it just after, so about 3 frames ish. Let's go for 2 frames, and then we're going to trim it there, guys. So there's our blank round, guys. If you want to if you want to scrub, if you're using a Mac and you want to scrub forward and backwards a frame, if you just press backwards and forwards, you actually move the file that you're working on. But if you want to move the actual bar here, scrub it back and forth, all you do is you just hold Command on a Mac and move it back and forth. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to show you how to remove the black from this image. So this is about the size that we're probably going to want the flash. If you notice, obviously it's the wrong angle, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. But this is probably the size that we're going to want it. So what you're going to do is you're just going to simply come over to here to effects and presets. Then you're going to go to channel. Then you're going to go down to shift channels. And what you're going to do is you're going to drag it onto the file you need. So if you notice over here, guys, over to the left-hand side in your effects controls, you've got take alpha from alpha, take red from red, take green from green, blah, 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 blah. To remove black, the quickest way, all we're going to simply do is we're going to go take alpha from luminance. And all it does is it just completely removes all the black from the file that you've used to remove the black, so you're just left with everything else other than black. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find the first point on when I pull the gun. So we may need to render this out again, guys, but it should be quicker because obviously the file's shorter, which it is, very, very, very quick. So let's go back to the first time we fire that gun. So the first flash we get, the first ignite is going to be that frame there, guys. So that's the first ignite. So let's go there. So we're going to move this over to here now. That's the first time it fires. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jump forward 1. So the flash needs to come 1 more back. Okay. So that's where it needs to be. So if you notice, obviously, guys, it's going from left to right, and the angle that we're on in the scene is obviously a 45-ish degree angle. From, if you draw a line from bottom left to top right, that's the angle that it's going, if you get what I mean. So what you need to do here is we're just going to need to add an effect which allows us, let me minimize this, which allows us to change this. If any of you guys work with Photoshop or anything, there's all you can simply do is you can right click, you can click transform, and there's normally something on there that goes skew or distort or whatever. It's not on here. So what we need to do is we need to go up to effects. We need to go to perspective. Nope. Where is it? Oh, distort, sorry. We need to go to distort, and down here you'll see corner pin. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a corner pin to this. If you notice, it just adds corner pins just here. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this in, and maybe this out, and we're just going to try and find the right angle to use. Probably a bit bigger than that. So if we hold down, click on the corner, hold down shift, and just make it a little bit bigger. We're going to want to make it a little bit longer as well. So what we're going to simply do is find the perfect match for this, guys. It's not easy sometimes, but we get it. Okay, so I think it needs to be more of an angle. So let's bring that to here. Okay, so let's go with this. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's bring it a little bit wider. Let's try there. Zoom back in. Zooming in and out, guys, is Command plus and minus on the Mac. We're just going to try and find the best angle to do this. This is not the finished product, guys. There is, oh, not that one. This is yeah, this is not the final footage, guys. This is just this is something we're going to be working on. So if you notice here, that should be about right. So what we're going to add now, guys, is if you notice, the gun is super blurry, and obviously our man here, our double crossing so and so, he's in focus. So what we're going to want to be doing is we're going to need to be adding. I'm happy with that angle. I mean, it's going to be so quick. You're not going to be able to criticize the angle that we're shooting on. It's very difficult. Obviously, the 45-degree angle. Real blanks would have been better in this situation, but if you're creating short films and you're new to this, obviously paying for real blanks and stuff like that is a bit far-fetched for low-budget filmmakers. So this is the best way of doing it for me. So what we're going to do now is we're going to simply just add an effect. We're going to add blur and sharpen, and we're just going to add a Gaussian blur to this file here. If you go over to the left here, you can add the blurriness. So I'm just going to rank it right. Oh, it's too much. I could probably go with 90. I could probably go with 80, 90 is a good blur for me. Maybe a little bit less. Let's go 50. Yeah, 50. Let's go to 50-ish. Yeah, that's good. There's a bit of smoke on there as well. So if you can see, we can see the flash come in from there. You could probably go a little bit less. Let's go for type in 40. Yeah, let's go with that. That's a good flash for me. Let's just scrub it back and forth to see. Let's just play it. Okay, so if you see here, we've got the flash that we need, which is just in front of the gun, which looks okay. When you add a color grade to the front, you know, it'd be all right. So let's go over to our project now, and let's bring in our 9mm bullet on ejection round. This is a video file, guys. So this is a spinning footage. I'll add a link to where it is in the link. I'll add a detailed about in the video. But what we're going to do is we're just going to simply just drag this down, drag it into here. Okay, it's a very large file, but what we're going to do is we're going to bring it to the top, and we're going to find out the size and the shape, and we're going to add tracking to this bullet, to probably something in the background that doesn't move, and we're also going to try and match it up as best we can. So if we just take the 9mm footage, if we just try and find a point where obviously if you see the percussion cap here is where the hammer and the pin strikes to fire, we obviously need that at the back closest to us. So we're just going to try and find it. So when an ejection round leaves, it's on a little spring load, and it's hooked in just here, and it's spring loaded here. So when the top slide pulls back, the front bit pops out first, and then the back follows, and it spins away down here. So what we're going to do is, as the top slide opens, we need it to be somewhere about there. It's a wrong angle at the moment, but I'll show you to change that in a minute. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change we're going to key out the green, and we're also going to change the angle a little bit. So we need to find out the right time to leave. So I want it to leave the chamber probably about there, because that's when it leaves. That's when you'll first see it. You won't see it before, but you'll start to see it when this tip is actually coming out of the top slide, and then this follows behind. So let's go there. So let's change the angle of this. Also, we need to change the size, but let's key out the green first so we can see see everything around it. So if you go over to your effects and presets over here, simply just type in key, And then what you do is you'll see key light 1.2. Click and drag and drop that to your ejection round. And over here, you'll see your key lights, your effects, controls. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to screen color. We're going to type the little pipette, click on the little pipette just here, and we're just going to click on the green. Gone. Now that's done, we can see the green's keyed out, and we're left with obviously just the rotating round. Now we need to obviously resize. Let's go back to project. Now we need to resize and change the angle. So if we simply right click, we're going to go to transform and we're going to go to rotate. So I think here, actually it doesn't need rotate, maybe 5 degrees plus. So plus is clockwise, typing a negative here is anti-clockwise. So maybe 5 degrees, just to line up that round just a smidge. So all we're going to do now, so now that's done, we're going to, yeah, that's about right. We're going to find the right size. So click a corner and just drag it down. So I reckon a good 9mm size is about there. So that's where we're going to add it. So we only want the spinning round in for very short amount of time. So maybe, I think 3 frames is good. So if we go Alt, close, that's too many frames. So we want, 3 frames. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, yeah, that's 3 frames. We only want it for 3 frames. So we've got this bullet now, guys. How do we get it to leave the gun, and how do we get it to look like it's super blurry? So the same again, all we're going to simply do is we're going to go up to, we can go over here. We went to effects last time, guys, to add the blur and the sharpen, but we can also do it here. So we can go to blur and sharpen down here. We can simply go to a Gaussian blur and we can drag it onto that file there, which is the bullet and the round. And if you look, obviously here's all our effects that we've added. So we're just going to minimize the key light, which is the keying out of the green, and we're just going to look at the Gaussian blur. We're just going to add around 50 again, because obviously that's what we added last time. We're going to have around 50 blur. So this is quite a bright brass casing compared to the rest of the footage. So we're gonna add a blur to this 9mm round. So we need to add a bit more of a blur, I reckon, to blur it. Let's zoom in a little bit. Remember, guys, zoom in is Command plus. And we want it to be as blurry as the round. So if you look at the lines here and the lines of the shell, I reckon that's about right, but it's a little bit bright for my liking. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add, we're just going to go down to around here, going to go down to transform, we're going to go to opacity, and we're going to change the opacity to 80. Which is going to just make it a little bit darker, a little bit more believable. This is going to be moving at such high speed, guys, you're not even going to notice it. So we change the opacity down just a smidgen, obviously, to make it not so bright. We're going to line it up a little bit better, about there. Now with this, guys, when you're masking, it's going to be really hard to add a mask because After Effects has a problem where as soon as you start adding effects like keying out and Gaussian blurs, it stops you from masking certain elements of the round. I mean, normally if we was getting nitpicky, what we'd want to do is we'd want to mask half of the round, then bring out the whole round, and then it follow on. But we can't do that now because obviously we've added other effects which we really need with this. So what we're going to do now is, now we've added the blur, I could probably add a bit more of a blur, guys. If you look at the rest here and you look here, it's not the best. So let's go to 100 and see if that adds better. So that's loads better. Okay. So a bit more of a blur with that. I reckon it's a little bit big for my liking. So let's make it a tiny bit smaller. About that. And now we're going to add the tracking motion to it. So what we want to do is we want to minimize this. And we're going to want to fit to screen, which is here. Fit to screen. Now what we're going to want to do is we've got our 9mm round here. We're going to want to track it. So let's go over to here. Let's go tracker. Let's go track motion. We don't want to do it on that. So you got to make sure. Go back. We got to make sure we're on. Obviously, click on the original footage that you're editing. Then go track motion. So what you're going to find is you're going to find a track point. So it's a little bit small, so let's make this little track point a little bit bigger so we can work a bit better. And all you're going to do is you're going to drag this track point somewhere on the back that's obviously going to be easily tracked. So I'm going to go with the edge of this post here, and that should be able to be tracked very easily. And all we're going to do is we're going to track play from there. So let's just track it, and that's tracking that. So let's go stop. That's all we need. So we just need it just a little bit. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go up to here. We're going to go effect. Oh, no, we're not. We're going to go to, where is it? New, sorry, new. We're going to add null object, which is here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go apply, edit target to null, then go apply. So now that track point is attached to null. So then what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to attach the 9mm round. Let's go back to it. So we're on it. We're going to attach the 9mm ejection round. Let's go back on it. Yep. So we're going to attach the 9mm ejection round to the null object. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to parent and attach it to null. So now, if the picture behind moves, the ejection round will follow the screen behind, so follow the backdrop, not the camera movement. There's very little on here, but I always like to teach it to make life easier. So now we've added that. Okay, all we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make this leave the screen in an arch. So it's going to come out, it comes out the side of the gun, slight incline, then it's going to come round and come down. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the start of where the ejection round is. We're going to click the little drop arrow here. We're going to click transform, if you haven't already done so. I'm going to click position. So we've added, click the little stopwatch, which adds a keyframe where it starts. If we skip forward, all we need to do now is we need to maneuver where that goes. So I want it to go about there, a frame forward, then skip another frame forward, and then click and drag to there, and then click one more frame forward, and it's gone. So if we go back, so obviously we want it to completely leave screen. So here's the ejection round done. Okay, so that should leave screen now when we click play. So if we go back to beginning, so if you see it, it leaves screen. Okay, so now we need to add it at the time of when it goes off, which is going to be about there. So if we drag this across, now what we should have is we should have a flash and an ejection round leaving. Okay, so because we've moved it, guys, sorry, our start point needs to be back down there. Okay, so that should be done now with the first ejection round and muzzle flash. So if we go to play at the beginning, okay, so one final thing that we need to add, guys, because this is a moving part, we've added no motion blur to it. We've added obviously a blur to it because it fits in with the scenery, but we've added no motion blur. So if we click on the 9mm thing here, and then all we do is there's a little like 3 discs overlaid at a 45-degree angle, and it's motion blur. All we're going to simply do is turn on motion blur for that. We're also going to turn on motion blur for the flash, just because I like to, and that's it. Now that's done, guys, all we're going to do is we're going to replicate these 2 rounds for every gunfire. Okay, so all you're going to simply do is click here, go Command C, then click at the top and go Command V, and then that replicates that round leaving. So now we need to find the point. So let's relabel these. Rename. Let's rename this first flash. And let's rename this first ejection. Okay, so first ejection and first flash. What we need to do now is rename this one second flash. And obviously when we create it, let's create it now actually for argument's sake. Just click Command C and then click there, Command V. So first flash, first ejection, second flash, second ejection. Obviously it'll rename it itself so you don't have two, but second ejection. We got 4 in here, guys, but we'll get to those in a minute. If you can see, it's added all the motion blur to these because we replicated them, but we don't have any tracking, which we'll need to link to in a minute. So all of the ejections need to be added to the null, guys. So this ejection as well needs to be linked to null, but we need to line these up. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide these two. We're going to hide them. We're going to go to our, so that's our first one. Then our second one's there, guys. So our second flash needs to happen there. So if we drag our second flash to there, we need to bring it back in so we can see it. And obviously that's moved now, guys, the location of the gun. So we need to relocate where the flash is with this one. So that's when it happens, and we're just going to add it there. And obviously that's when the ejection round needs to come out as well. So if we bring the ejection round across as well, it was slightly more forward. So now the location of where the ejection round comes out is moved as well. So we just need to move that to where that needs to be, which is about there. Let's scrub forward one. Okay, so that works. Okay, so that's 2 done, guys. So we've got our first flash, first ejection, second flash, second ejection. We now need to do third and fourth. So what I'll do is I'll just skip forward, guys, so you can see the final product. Right, guys, so I'll bring you back in now. If we look here, the final shot actually comes into focus, which is obviously not good for editing purposes, because all the other flash and ejection rounds we've added are all with a blur. So what we need to do now is we need to bring these other 2 flashes. I think that the motion blur on the ejection round is actually okay because it's so quick, but I think the flash needs to be a little bit more, what should I say, just a little bit more, you know, prominent, a little bit more strong. So if we click to flash ejection, the fourth flash, sorry, we need to go back down to transformation, effects. Then we need to go to our Gaussian blur, and we just need to take off some of the Gaussian blur. Which is going to be about, I need to add a little bit, obviously, because it's just in front of the gun where it starts to get blurry again, but it just doesn't need to be as much. So I think about there, and we also need to bring down, so ejection, third ejection needs to add anchor to the null point, and fourth ejection needs to anchor to the null point. So when they leave the frame, they're obviously not moving with the camera if there is any camera movement. So I'm just going to go over everything now again and just double check that the flashes are all good. So I think the ejection round there is probably not lined up very well, so let's line it up forward a little bit more, and let's make it a little bit more blurry. Effects, Gaussian blur, and just increase that. Let's go there. Let's go to the second one. So it still needs to be a bit more blurry, I reckon. Let's go second ejection. Let's make it a little bit blurrier, yeah. Effects, Gaussian blur, just a little bit again, not much. Now let's go to the third one. It probably comes into a little bit more focus there, so it's okay. And then finally it comes in to better focus again there. So we're gonna add that. I also probably want to bring the flash a little bit more prominent in that shot. Let's go full flash. Full flash obviously needs to be. Okay, so that's good. I'm gonna move this flash. This is just nitpicking now, guys. I mean, this is just me being fussy. When we add obviously a color grade to this, it'll look a lot better as well. So I can show you the finished product when it's released. But you guys get the basic idea. So let's quickly render this out and let's just show you what we've created. It should render out pretty quick, guys. But let's just let's go to fit screen and just see what we've created. Okay, so to me, the ejection round is too perfect every time. It falls in the same spot every time. So we need to eject it in different times. So let's go to every ejection round. So this one's okay leaving here. So let's go to this one, ejection round, second ejection, and let's change the path. Change the path each time, because obviously every single time it leaving the gun, it's not going to be the same. So let's move that one to there. Let's change it to this one. Let's move this one to let's add another keyframe actually. Let's add a effects. Let's add one more quick keyframe. One more keyframe there. No, can't. It's only in there for 3 frames, so we can only have 3 keyframes. So let's add this one here, and let's go to the final one. And let's have a high one there. Okay, so let's see if that makes any difference, guys, to the replication of what we have. I'm just gonna have to re-render again, guys. Let it re-render and then we'll watch it again quicker, and then we'll see if that obviously changes things. Yeah, so it's a bit better. Obviously when we add the color grade to it, I think that the final flash is off a little. Yeah, the final flash is not in the place it needs to be at. So let's zoom in, let's change that flash to where it needs to be, a little lower. Let's go, it needs to be about there. Oh, it needs to be about there. So that flash has changed a little bit better now. I'm still not quite happy with how bright each round is, so I'm just going to tweak things. I mean, you can tweak things easily by just going to, so say if it's too bright, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the first ejection round, and I go to effects and presets. I'm going to go to where is it? Color correction, and I'm just going to go to auto brightness and contrast. I'm going to add a brightness and contrast to the actual, to that layer of that ejection round, and I'm just going to make it a little bit darker, just so it's not as nice and not as shiny, because they never are. So I'm just going to tweak the ejection round brightness and contrast a little bit. So that's done on that one. So now let's do the other ones quickly. Let's click on the ejection, brightness and contrast layer. I mean, you should have done this before, guys, but obviously, let's go, what was it, 43, let's go 38, because they're all slightly different every round. Let's make this one a little bit more contrasty. Let's go to the next one. Let's go brightness and contrast. Let's make this one a little bit shinier. A little bit shinier. Oh, no, that was a flash. I added that too, bugger. Brightness and contrast needs to be added to the ejection. Get rid of these. So let's make 46. Let's make this one a little less contrasty. Yeah. And then finally, the last one. Where is the buddy round? Just there. It's a little bit more in focus now, so this one needs to be on point. Just make sure it's as dark as the gun. A little bit of shine to it, maybe. No, I'm happy with that. Let's play it back one more time and see if we can make this look a little bit better. From the beginning. Let it render out, guys. You see it in slow motion actually as it's rendering. So when you're filmmaking, guys, replication is never good, especially when you're doing stuff like this, because a round and a flash no two will ever be exactly identical. So the slight color contrast, the brightness, the flash, muzzle flash will be slightly different every time. This is just for showing you guys. That's why I've used the same flash, but normally I'd use different types of flashes, different thicknesses and lengths, and some more smokier than others. But this is just for obviously your tutorial purposes. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please like, subscribe, share, and I'll be updating more and more videos and tutorials, interviews with up-and-coming actors and filmmakers in the country, in London, and also blogs, vlogs, a bit of everything really. And guys, keep an eye out for this film Elude. It's a 9-minute short. It should be hitting your screens very soon. Thank you, guys, and stay tuned, I guess. I said that you cannot mask the ejection round as it's coming out of the top slide due to the effects that we added before. In fact, you can add it to this ejection round, but you can't add it to the muzzle flashes we created earlier. The reason this is because the ejection round, we've keyed out the green using key light 1.2, and that allows, when we keyed out the green, that allows you to mask over things within that footage or within that image that you created. Because we used the channels effect for the muzzle flash, where we took alpha from luminance, because we took the black away from the image rather than keying it out, we just took alpha from luminance. You cannot key over that. You cannot mask over that. And the reason why you can't really use key light on the black there, because it'll take away black from the smoke and black from the flash, which we don't want to do. We need to keep that within the flash. So what I'm going to quickly do now is quickly show you how to mask out the ejection round when it comes out of the top slide, because when you're watching an ejection round come out of a top slide or a gun, it comes out nose first, so it flicks itself out. So as the top slide comes back, the front comes out and you see the top half first, then the rest follows and it spins off screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a quick mask to half of the bullet, half of the ejection round, so you only see the front as it comes out. I've done it to the rest of this later on, and I'll add the clip at the end to show you the finished product, but I'm just adding this in over the rendering process, so don't get confused by anything. Just take note. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on our first ejection round, which is here. We're going to click the start of the sequence of that actual ejection round just there. We're going to go up and we're going to click this little pen tool. So we're just going to simply click on it and make sure that it's selected. And all we're going to do is we're just going to draw a little box around the ejection round. See, it chops off, it masks this. So what it does is it keeps everything inside that box that you've drew. and takes everything else away. So now we've done that, all you're going to simply do is you're just going to click MM on the keyboard, which down here goes to your first ejection round, which is the one we're working on. It gives you the mask path. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the little stopwatch to alter it, because obviously when it comes out the round, out of the ejection chamber, that's when we see half, but then when it comes further on out, we want to see the rest of it. So all we're going to do is press Command forward to skip a frame. We're going to go find the ejection round, which is here. We're just going to add another point just here, and we're just going to drag that out so it shows the whole round, and then that's pretty much it, simply done. Click MM on the keyboard again, minimize it, and that is how you add a mask to the ejection round that you've created. If you see here it stays small, then it gets to the actual size of the round, then it obviously leaves screen. So you'll see I've added it all to the rest in the final footage.
My name is Michael Carter, and I'm being held hostage.